Hello. This video is what I think about Michael Tsarion. Somebody asked me to do a video on Michael Tsarion. I can't remember if it was in a private message or in one of my videos, but I think it was a person who really liked Michael Tsarion. They're like, "Do you want a Michael Tsarion? I think he's just great." Okay, so I think Michael Tsarion is great. I like his I think he's very intelligent. I like his passion. I like how he has a whole lot of knowledge about alternative history. Because we do need more alternative history. Fact of the matter is, I mean, I remember my history classes in school. They said in 3200 BC, ancient Samaria was the first culture that existed, and they found the cuneiform tablets, and and they had like running water and little mud huts and stuff, and then you have the Indus Valley, and then Egypt came 1,000 years later, and yada 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 yada. And we did learn about Leif Erikson in high school, the Icelandic guy who went to America and started like a little settlement in like Newfoundland, but that's where it ended. After that, it was all about just traditional, and then we didn't know anything about the New World until Christopher Columbus came here, and that's wrong because it's ignorant because it's obvious. And it should have been obvious since the beginning of time that our ancestors are a lot more intelligent than we are now. That there was a world culture, just by looking at the pyramids and the Temple of Baalbek and all of those dolmen stones in perfect straight lines all over crisscrossing England, and the 60-foot high tower in France that's toppled over, and Tiwanaku, 13,500 feet up there in the Bolivian Altiplano, built with huge megalithic stones put together perfectly with interlocking like metal iron joints, in there. And then the huge stones at Sacsayhuaman in Peru that are like 300 tons or something crazy like that, bigger than my van. I mean, it's obvious that somebody smart was here. And we didn't even learn about Atlantis, which was what Plato talked about. It's definitely, anybody who talks about alternative history and how we did have ancient civilization here, and then the aliens story, is definitely a hero in my book. Michael Tsarion talks about three different things. He talks about alternative history, and now I haven't seen his book list. I haven't gone to his website and seen his book list, but I guess he reads a guy called Helena Blavatsky, a channeler from the Theosophic Society from the 1800s, and then I guess some other guy who's maybe a channeler. I don't know, but alternative history. Including intergalactic history, which I think he gets from like channelers and stuff, and also ancient symbolism is something that Michael Tsarion is really interested in. The meaning of I don't know. I can't. Just this stuff, I'm not really educated in this kind of stuff, but how Washington D.C. has like 57 different ancient symbols woven into it, and the Masons started it, and so they put it all in this certain configuration, and the Illuminati and all this stuff. That's one thing, the symbolism, ancient history, and then I think like modern psychology and like history of thought. And I heard him do a part of an interview with the dude from Red Ice Radio talking about psychology with all Nietzsche and like the growth and evolution of psychology, which I found really interesting, and I like hearing about that kind of stuff. However, he's a really angry person, and my brain's not working so well because I haven't been talking much. So I'm a little bit drunk, but he's really angry. I guess, he's from Northern Ireland, and he's the only guy left from his high school. They all died because they're all part of the IRA, so he has kind of like a jilted perspective. I guess his religious background is from the Course in Miracles book. I read the Course in Miracles book. You're supposed to read it in a year and do like all 300 exercises, and I read it over the course of a year, actually. And I did all the exercises. It didn't really grab me, though. I even did a YouTube video about it just because it was a book that I read. My Reiki teacher gave it to me because I gave him the Urantia book. He gave me that, and he said, oh, it's really good, read it. And then I got like attacked by some Course in Miracles, like accusing me of being a stupid stoner and that I'm an idiot and I didn't understand. So if you're going to judge Course in Miracles by the people who follow that religion, then it's a fucked up book. And I met some Course in Miracles people in Bali, and they were kind of one-track minded and only interested in that, and it didn't really captivate me. It's not my favorite book. It's just basically saying the same thing in a bunch of different ways, and I don't think like that. Well, I do say the same thing in a bunch of different ways, but I also say different things. But anyways, he's an angry person, and he has, even though he's like I said, he's just like David Icke. They're heroes about teaching about alternative history, extraterrestrials, evil extraterrestrials. But I think they're old school. And in 100 years, and you look back at Michael Tsarion and David Icke, I'll group them together. We're gonna see them. We're basically gonna listen to their speeches and laugh. They're gonna be like jokes. Their outlook on reality is 180 degrees ass backwards. God bless them, but it is. They look at reality wrong. They're looking at the system of people. The rich people throughout history as if they're evil, and they're not. It's just part of the human condition. That's what being a human on this planet Earth is. This is a fucked up world. And maybe because of aliens and because evil energy has been here. But for all we know, maybe it's just part of being human everywhere. It's great. Michael Tsarion and David Icke are heroes in that they're being very provocative, and this is a very provocative subject that blasts open and shows us all of the paradoxes of the world, because his idea of the rich people, the Illuminati, I guess you could call them, people in charge since the beginning of time, that they're they're so smart and that they have it all planned out and they have this end game that they've been working at for so long. I would say that yes, rich people, the royal families are a lot smarter than your average person. Therefore, they're a lot more educated. They're a lot more literate. He even said himself, his father never even had the chance to go to college. But he has the 180 degree wrong idea about it. Like he's saying, when they started universities, they started just so that only certain people could go. But we have to remember that in the past, we only had enough GDP. If you want to think about it the way Michio Kaku says GDP, type 1 civilization, type 2 civilization, type 3 civilization. It all depends on GDP. It all depends on energy. And back in the past, we just didn't have the GDP. We didn't have the energy to educate everybody. We didn't have electricity. not everybody could get educated, and only a few could be educated. And that's why, you know, the educated people were a lot more educated than others. Did they suppress? Yes, they did. There was a lot of suppression going on. But if you want to look at it on the you know, a flip side, maybe it was better to just be a peasant in those days. Because if you look at ancient Rome, the emperors and stuff, you know, there was a period back in the 200s where you went through like 6 emperors in 1 year. You'd have like, you know, the average of an emperor would only be a couple of years long because they'd all be killing each other. It's like, do you really want to be in that situation where your life is in danger and you're getting murdered and all of your family is getting murdered and there's, you know, toppling? Or would you want to just be a low-class guy who just has fun and doesn't have to worry about all that, you know? It's all part of the human condition. If you had to be back in those ancient days of the beginning of the democracy, if you wanted to stay on top, you had to. That was just the way it was. You had to kill. You know, back then it wasn't just a political death. Your political death was your physical death, because if he didn't kill the guy, he was going to go get his followers and he was going to kill you. So you had to kill the other guy. You know, like Claudius, he was one of the greatest, most just emperors. I think he was like the first of the 5 good emperors. You know, he did public works and he was a philosopher and but he still killed like 160 senators, because that's just how it is. You know, you had to. And as far as taxing of the populace, I mean, how else are you gonna? You have to make money to build up your army and pay all of your soldiers. And it's not. My point is, it's not like they're all evil people. They're just a product of their social class, and they have to do what they have to do to survive and get by, and that's just how it was. And banding together different royal families being related to each other, and marrying each other and stuff is just a perfect way to keep alliances between different countries together. After the fall of the Roman Empire, you know, there's good things about the Roman Empire and bad things about the Roman Empire, but you know, the period of time after the Roman Empire was called the Dark Ages, not by accident. There were a lot of pirates before the Roman Empire. You couldn't trade, and trading is good because it lets other cultures communicate with each other. It lets you, you know, communicate ideas and technology and trade, and Rome did a good job of keeping all those of killing all the pirates and keeping the trade routes open and bringing law and order and teaching civilization of all kinds of civilization to everybody. And then the Roman Empire fell because everybody around them was civilized enough to govern themselves and have their own little countries, and they created all the Romance languages so people could communicate with each other. And then you have the Holy Roman Empire with all of these loose confederated cities, countries, basically. But you know, there's always border disputes, just like we have border disputes in third world countries amongst each other today. You know, Peru and Colombia and Brazil, they all disagree on where the border is, just like Guyana and Venezuela. I mean, that's been going on for a long time. So when you have different European countries who actually are genetically related to each other, you're gonna, and you know, they can visit each other and they know each other personally. They're gonna be a lot more likely to get along and a lot less likely to want to have a civil war with each other. That's a good thing. Now, as far as the whole blue blood thing, of them being related to the evil aliens, let's start this over again because I'm on.